whoever is joining and admit anyone that has trickled in. So Adam, you have the floor.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining. There were a number of people that couldn't make it today, and I know we'll run into that problem consistently throughout the year. We'll record these calls so that if you do have to miss, you can catch up and see where things are at. But first and foremost, again, thank you for your willingness to participate. This is an exciting opportunity for us to provide our feedback through the ASCM channel, and we'll share some things about what that looks like and how ASCM uses this information and some of the things that come out of it. We've got a great group, very diverse. It's a large group of both more tenured, less tenured, lots of a variety of backgrounds from, as I look at Doug on the screen, we've got universities represented, we've got shippers represented, consultants represented, service companies represented. So a really wide range of people that have raised their hand and said, hey, I'd be willing to provide a voice inside of the subcommittee. And so today, I mentioned it earlier, but I will try to keep this under an hour if possible. My goal through the year is not to belabor you with more work. I know everyone's busy, so I'll do my best to keep things moving. If at any time somebody needs to stop me, raise your hand. I will leave time at the end for questions. But otherwise, from an agenda standpoint, we'll just talk a little bit about the sensing subcommittee. I gave a preview of what that is on my original message, so maybe you've got some sense, pun intended, bad jokes, of what this looks like. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get right into, all right, what does 2021 look like? What's our mission, and what are some of the things that we need to accomplish this year? And then, like I said, we'll open it up. All right, so let's talk sensing a little bit, and I'm going to take this from the perspective of how I think about it and give you some different lenses and how I make all of this come together in my mind. And so first and foremost, sensing from a dictionary perspective, and I really like this, the second idea is this perception that something has occurred or some state exists. And that key word of perceiving, looking into the future, early detection is all about what we're trying to accomplish and help the market better understand what's coming and what should they be aware of, and can we start to sense that early in the cycle. From a supply chain standpoint, I think the most common way that sensing is used is in the format of demand sensing. And I like some of the language here around not only the idea of trying to create an accurate forecast, but using this broad range of demand signals to create that. And that is another key element of what we're trying to do. And especially as we think about assignment 1 that we'll talk about here in a few minutes, it's trying to get a broad range of the market. It starts with our group that's represented here. We've got a good broad representation of the marketplace, but now asking each of you to go out and find even other research and resources to bring that in to help us understand and bring those together to understand what some of those trends look like. And then the way that I've thought about it, this is from a recent presentation that I gave internally, and I titled it The World of Information, Misinformation, and Too Much Information. And the fact is, we are loaded with content, and there is a ton of content out there. And as Gartner describes it, there's 3 types of people out there: people that just love to give more information, tell you what information you need, but then this last category of people that say, hey, I know there's a lot of information, let me help you make sense of it. And again, that's a key goal of ours as the sensing subcommittee, is as we go out there and find all of this great content, how do we distill it down in an effective way that people can understand it, apply it in their business, and start to make some decisions from it. So again, some key themes: early detection, what's emerging, what's changed, using a broad range of signals, so both a diverse team as well as diverse research. And lastly, making sense of that complex and noisy environment. And the way that we do that is try to distill it into these top 10 trends, Maybe you've seen those through some different outlets. And ultimately, what we seek is to become the voice of record in the marketplace. So ASCM organizationally really has this goal, and I'll share a slide with you in the ways that they've been accomplishing that very effectively. But how do we help drive content that's going to allow ASCM to leave their mark out there in the global marketplace? So then, what is the sensing subcommittee? Well, we're brought together as a subcommittee underneath a committee called RISC, that stands for Research, Innovation, and Strategy. And sensing is a part of that. And as you can see, RISC is really about emerging trends, but it's more about the short term, near term. So the other groups really focus on some things that are probably more near term and are focused on those trends within the next 1 to 3 years. Whereas sensing is trying to look out farther than that and say the 3+ year outlook, what are some things that are going to be relevant to businesses and supply chains and maybe even consumers, individuals, again, broad net here, that we should be thinking about that are important to comment on. And just a bit about this subcommittee, it really was born over the course of many years. I've only been involved the last couple of years. So I was a subcommittee member in 2019. That was my first jump into this world and helped with some of the work that Pedro, who you'll meet in a couple of minutes, spearheaded as the sensing chair at that time. What came out of that was this top 10 trends list that was received very well. And in fact, last year we added another layer to the top 10 trends, which was a rising and falling category. And those continue to be received really well, both at ASCM as well as within the marketplace. And you can see that these trends really get put into several different areas inside the ASCM body of work. So if you think about a lot of their work is in the certification space. And I know several of you have those certifications, but things like CSCP and things like that, it helps inform those certifications on things that they need to be putting into their content and into their education. It's a guidance for topics like a couple of periodicals that ASCM supports, the Journal of Operations Management. I apologize, I'm not sure what the TJ is, but
Transportation Journal.
Transportation Journal. So a couple of periodicals that are out there, and it's also then a guidance for the academic community. So when we think about research that might be supported, these are great topics for researchers to take and to provide more advanced analytics or additional layers of research that might be relevant to these topics. And how that came to fruition last year, just to give you a sense of the outputs from 2020's work, ended up in a variety of different spots this year, from Forbes to Supply and Demand Chain Executive, Investment Monitor. So a variety of different people picked up on our output and actually published things related to it. So that's really exciting to see that our work, we don't want you guys to be participating in something that's going to end up in a vacuum and never used. Hopefully you see through this that this work is highly influential, both to the ASCM community as well as to the broader external community. And I referred or alluded to the voice of record feedback earlier and saying, hey, ASCM really tries to establish themselves as the market leader. And you can see they've done a really nice job. This is just some last year feedback, but as they measure that trend, that performance, they're getting a lot of coverage, a lot of media impressions. And if you compare them to maybe what they would view as their competitors, CSCMP and ISM, certainly getting a lot more buzz. And again, I just put this out there not to bump them up again. We're big CSCMP folks at CH Robinson, and I'm not saying one's bad or good or indifferent towards that piece of it, but I do want to just say that, hey, the work that is done here is visible in the marketplace, and it's highly leveraged in the marketplace. And so again, we're not working inside of a vacuum. We're doing real work that really helps drive things forward and gets spread throughout the broader community. All right. Let's do a couple of introductions. I'm not going to ask everyone on this call to introduce themselves. I've got some slides to show, but I know there's a lot of people on here, and so we could spend an hour just introducing ourselves. What I would say is that while this first assignment's very individual, there will be future assignments where there will be opportunities for you to team up, and I'll be helping facilitate some of that. But I would like to at least let Pedro and Matt introduce themselves. Pedro is the chair of the risk committee today, so moving from sensing into risk overall. So I think it's important for him to introduce himself. And Matt is somebody that you've already started to hear from him. You're going to hear from him a lot more throughout the year, and he's a vital part of our team as well. So Pedro, do you want to kick off, and then Matt?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro Neto. I'm a supply chain data scientist at HP based in San Francisco, and I've been involved with sensing over the past couple of years. I'm super excited to be a member of sensing this year. So I've been the pleasure of helping with a couple of other people like Amy and many other people that have stayed with us for the sensing subcommittee over the past years, kind of form what it is. This is for all the new folks, this is a lot of fun. It's pretty amazing to see the results take shape by the end of the process. It's very fulfilling. And I think everyone here is really going to enjoy it. I think it's going to be pretty amazing how we're going to take insights and all of our expertise from diverse sets of areas, do some research, coalesce it, and then at the end have a product that we're all super, super proud of and excited to be part of. And my job, kind of separate from being a member here in the sensing committee, is to help enable everyone here, as well as overall risk, have a really fulfilling experience. We do know that this is a volunteer experience. We really do appreciate your volunteering and what just what Adam said. But if there's other fulfilling activities that you guys want to do, reach out to Adam and myself. So we've had people who want to actually write journal articles themselves. We've had people who actually want to network outside of this committee. We've had people that want to maybe have different social hours and just have networking fun. Whatever it is that you may want beyond giving up your time, we're very happy to listen and help support that any way that we can. So welcome, everyone. Happy to be part of this.
Thanks, Pedro. I'll take the floor. My name is Matt Talbert. I am the Senior Manager of Research at ASCM. I've been here 5.5 years, except for 4 years at the University of Iowa. I've spent most of my life, or practically all of it, in Chicago. And yes, we are all raised on deep dish pizza. I will be the liaison in that I'm going to help schedule all the meetings, make sure SharePoint is always up and running. I will also be the conduit between this team and ASCM staff. So as you saw, some articles were picked up by Forbes or the Financial Times. We have a communications director that I work with. We're always communicating on our content that comes out of this committee, and make sure that if there's media interest, she'll help pick up with some hits. Pedro touched on a very important word in his introduction, and that's fun. You're all here by choice. I want to make sure what you're doing is something you enjoy doing. There's a good Goldilocks zone between the amount of engagement, where we want it to be just enough that it's not taking up too much other personal and work commitments, but also the right engagement so that you actually enjoy what you're doing. And I've had other committee members and subcommittee members say that, it's actually been kind of fun, looking for trends, keeping an eye on the industry. And then another thing, to Pedro's point, some extracurricular activities if you ever wanted to participate as a subject matter expert on one of our webinars or an on-demand short webinar or LinkedIn Live session. I can be a conduit to that as well. And then all files, as mentioned, will be in SharePoint, but feel free to shoot me an email if you have any technical problems, if you want to send me files or for any other questions you may have.
Great. Well, thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Matt. In terms of the rest of the team, I did want to at least make some form of introduction just to show you who is participating in this, who might be some of your teammates, and to both Pedro's and Matt's point, if people want more opportunities to get together and just meet one another and spend time together, we can absolutely do that. It's always tough to balance the idea of, hey, you're volunteers, like was mentioned, and we want to appreciate and be respectful of that. But if there's more that you want in terms of that engagement with one another, by all means, we'll make that happen. But we've got several returning members. So both, or not both, but all three of Amy, Sean, and Ulf are returning members as well as risk committee members. So we've got some people that have some visibility to the larger risk group, as well as having some focus and support around sensing. And then both Kara and Deanna are returning as well. So we're excited to have some returning members, some experience, people that have gone through some of these assignments in the past. I think they'll be great resources for you if you run into a roadblock or an obstacle. And while Matt, Pedro, and I are always available, certainly you've got another set of people in the network that you could potentially ping and say, hey, I'm not clear on what this means or how to do something. We've got a lot of new members. And so again, really excited to have all of you join. Actually about 23 new members that are helping support this year from a variety of backgrounds. Again, I'm not going to take the time to, and you'll have all of this PowerPoint will be available to you and you'll be able to scan through it. Maybe there's some people here that you recognize and know. Got some folks from my resident organization. Maybe I didn't do a formal introduction of myself. I'm Adam James. I'm with C.H. Robinson and have been part of Sensing since 2019. And got a few teammates joining us, Andrew Bertram, Nick Schneider, and Sarah Owens. I'm excited to have them participate. From Amazon, Carolina Wilkins and Bill Seliger are participating. So again, excited to have them. Bill Nesbitt from Target, Sarah Shuey from General Mills, Will Thrasher from Franklin Electric, David Horvath from Hubble, Brian Tiernan from Shamrock, George Meyer from Sifted, and Jit Hinchman, supply chain advisor. Just this one slide, and I'll show you the next slide in a minute, encapsulates, I think, very well the diversity that we have from large companies, smaller companies, service industry, as well as actually practitioners that are doing a lot of stuff in supply chain. So again, thank you so much for participating. Looking forward to hearing your voice more as we continue. The rest of the crew, Aaron and from Amesbury Truth, Andrew, Schreiber Foods, Teo from Hinkle, Brandon Hawkins from Carlisle, Amber from Mid-Continent, Midco, Doug, who alluded to earlier. I see him on screen this whole time, so he's the lucky one that gets to see me, but from University of Central Arkansas, thanks, Doug. Yolanda from University of Evansville, Justin from Penn State, Srijith, who introduced himself earlier. Thanks, Srijith, for joining us. I know it's late for you out there. He's with Accenture. Gretchen, who's got a wide variety of background currently as a consultant, but I think she's had some time with Pier 1 and some other large companies. And then Catherine, who I knew couldn't be with us today, from Maven Next. But again, I moved through those quickly. It's not to not give time for the proper intros, because certainly all of you deserve a appropriate introduction. But for sake of time, I wanted to just do it this way and know that we'll have time to pursue those opportunities as we move forward. But a really strong group. Some of you I've worked with closely in the past. Some of you I may have interacted with once or twice, and some of you, this is the first time I'm getting a chance to meet you. So again, thank you so much. I look forward to building relationships with all of you as you want. Maybe some people are like, no, after this, I'm done with Adam. That's okay too. But thank you again for your willingness to participate, and really looking forward to the work ahead. So I'm going to pause there before I get into the 2021 stuff and really the meat of, all right, what's next? Where do I go from here? Sort of thing. And just ask, are there any questions? Anything that you'd like to bring up now before we dive in and do our wrap up? All right, very good. So first off, before anything, let's just define what a trend is. A trend in our world is both a problem and a solution. So a topic that's increasingly important to the supply chain community 3+ years in the future. So it's a broad range. We think about a trend, a lot of times you think about what's trending. If we think about Twitter and all that stuff, that's stuff that's trending right now. And oftentimes I think that's where our mind goes. These are things that are looking out in the future and may not be as known out there in the marketplace today. So certainly is maybe not trending in that way today, but we believe to be a trend. So problem and solution. Again, our goal is to deliver a top 10 trends list by the end of this, and the culmination of all of this, including rising and falling. So this will be our second year of layering in that rising and falling perspective of what's getting priority today versus maybe what's less prioritized and things like that. So hopefully that's clear, and you can think about that as we move forward, but like I said, there'll be time for some questions. This is overall our process. Number one's really completed already. We've created a deep and diverse team, and hopefully you've seen that just through the slides that were presented today. We're on step 2, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, but it's all about identifying high quality resources. So this will be an individual assignment, try to not have any group think, a really, really divergent approach to saying, hey, let's go out there and find as many resources as we can. You can see what some of those examples are of research reports, Google Analytics articles, surveys, your own expertise. And so we'll just go out there and scan the market for as many resources as we can find. From there, we'll start to extract trends. So what we'll see is through that gamut of research, and I know we had well over 100 research articles or research citations last year. We'll take all of that and trends will start to appear through that process. There will be similar things, something that Amy brings will be similar to something that maybe Pedro has also found, and we'll start to group those together, and that will be really when we start to group you guys up, to start looking through the research and start to catalog, where does this stuff go, where does it belong, and through that catalog, that will really start to extract the trends. We'll start with probably a larger set of trends. We won't start with 10, right? It'll be a longer list of however many we catalog or categorize through that process, which really leads into the next 2 steps of consolidating that. There is an ask to try to map it into the SCORE model, and last year we didn't do much of that, but we did get some ideas this year on how to do it. And if you're not familiar with SCORE, we can talk about that offline. And then ranking the trends. So ultimately, we'll take that catalog, and through a variety of different methods, both kind of survey rank type methods, as well as opening it up and maybe having some arguments, I don't know, that word can be negative sometimes, good discussion on what should be, shouldn't be. It will lead us to that top 10 list with ranking and falling. So from where we're at and where we're going, we're really still early in the game. I don't want to jump too far ahead to those future stuffs. we'll use the Joel Embiid trust the process mentality here. Let's just trust the process and know that as we work through it, I've seen it in action. So we'll just take it phase by phase, and we will get to where we need to be by the end of this. This just gives you some rough timelines of where that's going. This is another view of the same thing. So you can see that you are here. Originally, I thought about doing 2 calls, but given the timing, I decided to combine the kickoff with the assignment 1 conversation. Those other dates in June and July and August are certainly really tentative right now, and Matt will, as he did with this call, be providing some doodle polls and stuff in the near future to start to schedule some of these upcoming calls so that we can continue to reach our appropriate milestones and move forward. Also, there was some discussion, some people raised some questions around, hey, is there anything at year end, and is there an opportunity maybe for us to get together as a committee? It'd be really cool to interact and mingle with the team. We all know where we're at, from a company perspective. We're not traveling yet, and some of those things. I don't know what the fall will bring. I don't know where we'll be at. It would totally be optional if we did it, but given some of the feedback I got, I will survey the group probably in early summer just to get a gauge on if that's even something people want to do. Again, people might say, no, not interested in that, and that's totally fine. And historically, it's not something that we've done, but it would be great. And if we do it in a location that maybe you can do some other work in, and it kills 2 birds with 1 stone, and you're there anyway, maybe there's an opportunity for us to get together and say cheers and enjoy some company for a little bit. All right. So assignment number 1, identify resources. First step in that is to identify your research. And I capitalized your because we really want this to be your research. We all have different places that we go to keep up with the news and what's a relevant topic. You could go to lots of different sites, like we alluded to earlier. Some of you may be doing your own research or close to academic research. By all means, bring that to the table. Some of you may be in the business itself and maybe publishing some stuff that would be relevant to this. Bring that. There's lots and lots of periodicals out there that talk about these. Certainly a lot of consultants provide good market research. So I don't want to lead the witness too much here on where you go to find it, but cast a wide net, bring as much back as possible. We would ask that you take whatever that is and save it as a PDF if possible, and upload that to the SharePoint site. I wanted to just quickly show you what that looks like. So let me bring over if you were to click on that link, it's going to take you to this homepage. Can everyone see that? Or is everyone looking at my PowerPoint? You can see the website? Good. All right.
Yes.
Yes.
So the first thing that you need to do is create a file for yourself, which all you need to do there is just pull this down, new folder. You can see I already created one for myself. Once you click on that, you can type in your name, and then that will be your folder to store all of your articles, research, whatever you've got. And then pretty simple. You can see that I did already upload the PowerPoint into here today, but once you create that folder, you can just simply go to upload files, and that will bring up your files that you can upload into it. So I hope that's pretty simple, straightforward. What I would call out is, as Matt, I don't know if Matt mentioned it already or not. If you didn't, I'll say it now. It might be redundant. But these SharePoint sites are only open for 30 days. So this specific link, we won't lose any data after 30 days, but the actual link to get to the webpage will expire in 30 days. So our due date is before that. As long as we're able to, over the next 4 weeks or so, do this, we'll be fine. So I put a due date out there by Wednesday, May 19th. That'll allow us a little bit of buffer too if needed. But certainly if you're running into issues or challenges with deadlines, by all means, raise your hand, reach out, say, hey, Adam, I might need a little bit more time. Again, totally understand and want to make sure that while we're making progress, we're also not putting too much pressure on anybody to try to meet these timelines.
You're sending the PowerPoint out, correct?
Yeah, and it will also be on this, but yeah, we will follow up with the
Yeah.
recording as well as this deck.
If you could drop the link in the chat, that would be sweet.
Oh, I don't know if
Yeah, I could do that, and I will upload the recording of this meeting afterwards.
Cool. Thanks, Matt.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, I have been calling in. I am on the road and I cannot see anything. I hope that I can see that later if you send the file over something. I'm Jim Hinchman, by the way.
Yes, you should be able to see the full meeting. Whatever Adam presented on the screen will all be
Okay.
in the recording. But
Okay,
I'll have to
perfect.
put it
Thank
in
you.
the share. Yeah, no problem. I will have to send it via the SharePoint link because the file will be too big to email.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
No
Adam,
problem.
can I say something to
Yes,
the
sir.
group? Okay, good. Here's Ulf. So welcome all new members. Where we are now going through is the most exciting part of the work, because for me, and I think the other ones who did that even more often, like Amy than I, that's the moment where we get the most out of it because it's our personal learning as well. So I think we tried that last year already, and we all knew that last year was a little bit more tight and tough. But I can only urge every member here on the sensing committee to put enough time in your calendar to search, to look, whatever you see, and all that spam what we normally get and we put aside. Or in these days, it's a little bit more into look into this. Maybe there's something which you normally wipe off, but what is really interesting. So I wish all of you a lot of fun.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And it's been great. We are at the Q&A portion, so great transition. I'll open it up to anyone else or other returning members that would want to make comments, or anybody else that's on the line that just wants to make a comment. Now's our time.
I'll make one comment of something that we've seen over the years and just additional color. You know, when we all are going to do this research, you know, we'll obviously overlap on some of the things that we search for, and that's completely okay. So I'll just re-emphasize what Adam said, is just trying to cast a broad net, think creatively of where to search. So we've done things of like, I personally have looked at VC funding and looked to see, you know, there a quantitative way for me to pull what types of VCs are funding supply chain types of companies. So just an example of kind of like oddball research that could prove interesting. And we've also found that there's a lot of content out there on top trends, and you may be thinking, you know, okay, what makes this different versus, you know, all the other research that exists? And it's true that there is some overlap. But we offer, part of this committee, this unique perspective of through a supply chain lens. So there might be a really sexy trend topic out there, but it may not be as relevant for supply chain as other fields, and vice versa. There's going to be some really nerdy, very specific logistics thing that's super important to us that the rest of the world is going to find that too niche and doesn't really quite apply to them. So that's one of our unique contributions here. So just keep that in mind as you look through the research.
Thanks, Pedro. Anyone else? Questions, comments, concerns? All right, well, I will maybe do a quick wrap up and then pass to Matt to totally wrap us up and talk about what the next steps will look like from his end, what to be on the lookout for. But just from my end, again, thank you so much for your time today. Look forward to working with you more closely throughout the year. Certainly reach out if there are questions. Maybe you didn't want to raise your hand. It's a big call. So by all means, after this, if you want to chat more or want to ping me, you all have my email address, and I think you have my phone number too. So reach out, let me know. Thanks again for participating. I'm really excited to have this group together. I think we're going to have both a good time as well as deliver something really cool at the end of it. So again, thanks. Matt, any closing remarks, next steps that people should be on the lookout for as we close?
All I will say is I sent the SharePoint link to through the chat. I'll send it in an email as well. Not to overload you with mediums of communication. I will send, an Outlook invite that's not a meeting, but just for the due date for each of the milestones. That's just a good way to keep us on track and a good method that worked in previous years. I will also, I guess now is not a bad time, knowing that people have busy schedules, to send a doodle poll for our next meeting. So after assignment due is one. Adam, if you did want a meeting after that, or if you just wanted to move along to assignment two without a meeting, you're the chair of this subcommittee, so it's your call.
I think we'll do a meeting just to have a call and have something formal for people to refer back to if they need to.
Sure. So I will send a doodle poll out for that as well for after assignment one due date. And then you have my email address since I sent this invite. The line is always open if you have any questions. I know sometimes questions come up after you absorb all this information. I'm happy to answer them for you. And I'm excited for the output this year, looking at that diverse group, where they come from. That this should be exciting. And I know I speak for the directors and executives that they're excited as well to see the output and see this amazing group continue their work.
Great. All right, well, we'll give everybody 20 minutes back. Hopefully you can find that productive. Again, thanks for joining. We'll talk soon, and everybody have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Enjoy your weekend, all.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam.